Hello everyone and welcome to GT Academy 2015 Round 2 Guide, and we're at Brands Hatch and we're in the Nissan GTR GT3 car. So we're in a faster car on a shorter track, so it should mean you get to do more laps in a space of time, but it also presents us with a few more problems. So a couple of things to note with this one. I'm not going to go over like really specific driving details again. I've done that in all my other guides, so you know, if you want to know anything specific there, just look up all my guides. I've got Road to GT Academy 2013. You can have a look at the final guides for each of those laps and stuff like that. Another thing to do note as well is last round and also this round, there's been sort of a notice that you can actually go into the competition and you'll find you have less grip. So if you come back out and go back into it, you then have the right grip. A bit of a weird bug. I'm assuming it's to do with the weather. So generally what I do now when I always go into the GT Academy round, I quickly enter, I quickly exit, and then I go back in. Now another point to make as well is, as I go in on the second time, to get rid of the blue ghost lines, because you notice I don't have blue ghost lines, and I've got a video on that I'll put in the description. I literally sign out of the PSN network. It asks me to sign in, I'd stop all that, and then when I'm actually in the round I then load the ghost and then sign back in, and then I can go in. If you forget to sign back in, what you can do is you can just do your laps and it'll ask you to sign back in at the end of your session. So other things to note with this time trial on this round, if you want the absolute top times, you are going to have to slide. It's a bit more drifty, and that's to stop the understeer, and also the car is quite aggressively set up for oversteer anyway, so you will experience it no matter what in the lap anyway. If you really want a really stable lap, you can still get high ranked times like 122s, so I wouldn't worry too much. I found that, you know, if you want to be consistent with this this round, you don't want to counter steer, oversteer quite a lot. It's only a tiny bit, and you're more going to do it with the throttle. So you're going to come off the throttle if you want to just stop the sliding and stuff like that. And the cones are a lot closer than at Silverstone, so the cones are back and being a bit of a menace. So that's some things to note for this round, and let's kick it off with Paddock Hill Bend. So we're going to do a slow-mo lap and then go into a really fast commentary lap. So as we come up to Paddock Hill Bend, obviously it's a notorious corner. I brake just after the second boards, the second warning marker. Now you can go a bit further and brake harder and stuff like that, but this isn't a make or break corner. Yes, you'll lose a tenth maybe here, but on the grand scheme of the lap, you'd rather just get this right and just get a decent lap in rather than try and nail this perfect and then mess up on the next corner. So generally I just brake after that and I trail brake in. Now it's all about momentum, so you can just trail brake in, come off the throttle and just let it roll in a little bit and go into the corner. Now it is about judgment, so if you turn in later you can actually accelerate a bit quicker out the corner, but obviously you'd be further back because you're not going in as tight. But if you touch the curb, you will get oversteer, and you will find you get oversteer anyway. So if you can make the corner and switch to fourth early on, do that because you won't oversteer as much. And you can use all of the exit curbs. So if we just watch that now, you'll see what I do and how much time I lose against the Ghost. And I'm racing Immortal's Ghost because he's rank 1 again, of course. So as you see, there's the second warning, and I brake, and then I'll start to trail brake all the way in. As I said, it's all about momentum. You can see that I've run a bit wide, but because I can turn in now, I've accelerated, bit of oversteer, changed to fourth straight away. I know I'm going to make it now, and I can use all the exit curbs. So you'll notice I use all of the exit there. So obviously here I'm like half a tenth down or something like that. It's not make or break. You might be a tenth down. Doesn't really matter that much. You want to focus more on the rest of the lap to try and get your lap time down. So just try and make that corner every single time so you get some consistency and a bit of rhythm going as well. So turn 2, Druids. Now Druids is a sharp corner, a very sharp corner, because it's just essentially a hairpin, as you can see on the map. And my braking marker is when basically just before this sign coming up, the Palmer sign, I brake just as that Palmer sign hits the top of my screen. And I'm going to brake quite aggressive. Now if you really want the top time, you're going to have to slide a little bit around here. Now obviously sliding is a bit extreme in Gran Turismo, but you know, in real life you do get a slight bit of slip. In this we get quite a lot of slip because obviously it's still a game. We can risk it essentially. We're not worried about tyres or anything like that. So I'm going to come into this corner, I'm going to brake hard, and then as soon as I switch down to third gear, I'm then going to go straight down to second and then first, and I'll be trail braking at that point. It won't be 100% braking, and I'll be turning in. What that does is it forces the back end round, because obviously I'm turning, all the weight's on the front, there's no weight on the back just wants to come round because there's nothing on it. And then I want to try and keep that momentum as I go around the corner, so On some laps I'll stay in first gear for longer and just keep the throttle going. Sometimes I'll go into second quite early just to stop the slide going, and then I'll want to jump straight to third straight after that, because second's a very short gear anyway, to stop any more oversteer. Now on any of the curbs on the exit of both Druids and Graham Hill Bend, if you go 4 wheels on and then accelerate, you're more likely to get snap oversteer and go straight off into the barrier. So let's watch Druids now, and you'll get a good idea. So as we come up to the sign, we're now going to brake hard, drop to third gear. Notice now we're trail braking in. Trail brake, notice the slide there, so I just keep a bit of the throttle, I get enough there, so straight to second. I'm then going to jump straight to third gear because I don't want any more oversteer, and we do that corner fairly well there. You know, we don't lose any time versus Immortal, and we've actually got more track that we can use, but because we got a really decent amount of rotation on this lap in particular, we didn't need it, and we don't have to risk going on the curbs, because the curbs are what create snap oversteer. If you end up on there, you'll notice the car is very twitchy, and you're more likely to spin out, and I have spun out quite a lot there, so you know it's worth not going on there. Turn 3, Graham Hill Bend. Now this is a make or break corner, or one of them, and it's one that if you can focus on getting right, you will gain lap time straight away, because you can lose 2 or 3 attempts here straight away if you're on for a top time, even more obviously if you're not so used to the corner. Now the brake marker for this is, if you just look for Immortal's Ghost, as you can see there's a brake warning marker there. Now Immortal gets further to the right earlier, so he gets a better run at the corner. I have this tendency to stay quite tight going up to it, so I get a bit more rotation to get around the corner. Now when you get to that sign, you're going to brake hard, and then you're going to trail brake in a tiny bit. Now if you turn in later, or the later you brake, you're going to have to turn in sharper, so you're going to get more oversteer. Now some oversteer here is quite helpful, because if you don't get oversteer, you're going to get 4 wheels on the curbing and risk snap oversteer. It also means you don't get 100% traction on the exit, which means that you won't get as much snap oversteer. It's a bit weird like that. You know, if you don't have 100% traction, it can't do the snap oversteer in the first place because you're controlling it, and you can get out the corner quicker. Now you can drop to second gear here. I normally drop to second gear here, or stay in third if you want a really stable corner, but again you won't be able to get in the throttle as early. So if we come into this now, you'll notice I brake just after the board there. I brake, I'm trail braking all the time. I get a lot of oversteer there. I get more than I want to, but it helps me because I can straighten up really early. Again, I don't want all 4 wheels on the curb. I just don't get 4 wheels on there. And then we're going to come up to Surtees. Now one thing about Surtees is you'll notice there's a split marker in Surtees. Ignore that time there. There is no point looking at time, because you can come into Surtees like 100 billion miles an hour and go, oh look, I gained on Immortal's Ghost or whatever, or whatever else. But your main split markers are the one just before Graham Hill Bend and the one as we come up to Hawthorns later on in the lap. But as we come into Surtees, you'll notice the board on the right. Again, I brake just after that, and then you have another choice of gears. It's a lot of choice and judgment on this lap. So sometimes I'll stay in third gear, depends if I've broken too early or broken slightly late. If I brake slightly late, I'm going to drop to second gear because I want a bit more rotation to get around the corner a bit quicker, because I've actually outbroke myself, so I'm trying to save the lap at that point. So as we come into here, we're going to brake, and we're going to trail brake straight away. And as we trail brake, I drop to second gear here. As you can see, I'm trying to get a bit of rotation. I accelerate and straight to third. I don't want too much rotation, so I go straight into third. And notice I come off the throttle a little bit there, because I notice I'm going to run slightly wide. Now that cost me a little bit on the exit, but it didn't cost me a huge amount. I'm still acceleration away. I'm still quite close to the Ghost, so I can keep going. Now, if you want a good idea of how well you did that corner, coming up you get the slight right as we start going down the hill and up to Hawthorns. Basically there's a little curbing here, so if I just fast forward this a little bit, and there, so notice I'm at 116 miles an hour. I really at this point want to be at 118, and I sort of look at this curb and I go, alright, okay, what am I at this point? If I've done it at 118 miles an hour, I've done that corner perfectly. That's what I want. 119, 120, even better, but it's going to be very hard to get that. I've not done that very often. Now, the thing with Surtees, if you stay in second gear and go to third, there's more risk of oversteer, of course, because you're in second gear. Third gear and trail braking in, it gives you a nice little rotation, so you don't actually have to force it, and then you can control it again with the throttle. As I said earlier, you control it with the throttle, you're not risking any snap oversteer, or you're not trying to counter steer anything. You can just get the turn in just right, and you can accelerate out. And generally speaking, when I've stayed in third gear, I've actually done that corner the best. So that gives you an idea. So you can try second gear, you can try third gear, it depends on your driving style as well. And as I said, use this curve as a bit of an idea of how well you've done it. So we're going to accelerate now all the way up to Hawthorns, And normally this corner is very difficult, but in this one it's not that difficult actually. I'm very consistent here, so I'm just going to pause it here and I'll explain why I'm so consistent here. Because basically I've got two markers here that are in the perfect place for me to break and then get a good idea of when to turn in. Now I say I'm consistent, it means basically I never go wide. Obviously to get a perfect corner every time is very hard, but this isn't a make or break corner, so you can get it wrong and still carry on. I know Immortal did like a 0.4 one time and he got this corner wrong, but you know, he got 21.4, so it just showed you it's not a make or break corner. So on the right hand side is your first marker. You'll notice the barrier has a slight red tint to it, and it's the end of the barrier essentially. This is your break marker. Now you're only going to break 100% for a little bit up to the white marker or just before that. And the white last warning marker is actually your turning point. So we're going to break straight away and we're going to drop straight to fourth and then we're going to turn in. And notice how I came straight off the break. Now it's all about momentum. If I can get momentum around the corner, I just want it to turn. And when I know I can make the corner, usually around the first cones, I will start to accelerate. But because I'm quite tight here, I accelerated earlier. Now you may find you get a lot of oversteer during that corner. Again, control it with the throttle, you don't have to countersteer that much. And as you come on the exit, you'll notice actually you've carried a lot more speed than initially indicated, because then the speedo catches up because you get the traction. So Hawthorn's quite easy. Brake using the barrier and then turn in where the marker is and just keep the momentum going round. You can literally stay off the throttle for quite a while and then accelerate out and be a very smooth lap through Hawthorns. As we come up to Westfield, Westfield is a make or break corner. You will find most of your laps fail at this corner. I find most of my laps fail at this corner, and it's sort of it got me again sort of thing. So I'm going to accelerate, I'm going to keep going, and my brake marker and sort of turn in marker is the warning on the left hand side, which shows a little bit twice on this video, just because of where I stopped it. I'm going to brake hard initially and I'm going to drop to third gear. I dropped to third gear to make sure I get the turn in right. So I brake just before it and I turn in on it, so you know it's really quick. So it's brake, turn, and as I turn I'm trail braking. Remember, you can't full on brake and turn at the same time. You'll either scrub off too much speed, go wide and do all sorts. If you trail brake, you get enough weight on the front, you can turn around it. You may get a bit of oversteer, or you're more likely to as you're trail braking. So this is where you're going to have to flick straight back up to fourth gear to try and stop that. So I brake a little harder than I want to, and notice I dropped too much speed there. I'm down to 90 miles an hour. It's not where I should be. I should be around 94, 95. So I lose a little bit of time here, but I've made the corner. So I'm now going to hit fourth gear straight away to stop any oversteer. I try and use as much of the track as I can to straighten it up and keep the momentum. So again, I'll lose like a tenth there. Not too bad, but I can keep going through this now up to Sheene curve. Now at this point we're in Dingle Dell, and I have this tendency, I've no idea why, stay really tight. Now obviously some of the leaders stay to the left. I do this line. I'm more comfortable with this line. It makes no difference really. It's how you get up to the top. Because I'm a bit tighter and I want to go out really wide, I've more of a chance of making a mistake going into Sheene curve. So you may want to stay out wider at this point, so you know you might want to ignore my line. So going up to Sheene curve, we have a really good marker for this one now. It's quite consistent. It's the number one warning marker, the last board. And again, we're going to brake and trail brake in. We're going to drop to fourth gear if you're feeling very confident of making the corner, or third gear if you don't feel very confident. But as I said, it's your turning point as well, so you'll turn in at the same time. Notice I turn, I'm trail braking in, I stay in third, I then begin to accelerate. Now, on a perfect lap, I will have been around 103 or 4 miles an hour at that apex. I was down to 99, because obviously I'm not fully confident yet. I still need to build up my speed. Now if you run wide on the exit, notice I run nearly wide there. Notice I slightly clip the grass. If you go further wide, just back off the throttle a little bit and then come over to the right hand side as we come up to Stirlings. Now this is the most aggressive corner on this round essentially. You will have to be aggressive here if you want a really fast time. So the brake marker is the last warning marker again, and I brake and come down to second gear as fast as I can. Now the turn-in is slightly later than it should be because of where the cones are placed, and you will either get oversteer here or understeer, or you will either oversteer initially, counteract that, and then get a load of understeer and then not make the corner. So if you can turn in slightly later, it sort of stops the understeer. You will get a bit more oversteer, but again, you can control that by going up to third, just balancing it with your throttle. So as you can see there, I'm trail braking. I've turned in a slight bit too early. Notice how much oversteer Immortal gets there. He nails that corner really well. And I've gone straight up to third, and I can accelerate out of there. As I said, try and turn in a bit later than I did there, because it just gives you a bit more consistency with the cones. The cones are really annoying there. Now we're coming up to Clearways, so we're coming up to essentially the last braking point, because Clark Curve isn't, you know, you just go around that. So at Clearways, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to use the marker on the left hand side, the far left hand side, so not the second one, the last one. That's our brake marker. We're going to drop down to third gear, and then we may want to trail brake in a little bit, we may not have to, but as we go into Clearways, we're going to want to accelerate quite early. The car's going to want to oversteer, so as soon as you know you've made that corner, try and flick up to fourth gear again, and accelerate out of the corner. If you're going to struggle, try not to counter the oversteer too much, because it'll just spear you off the track. It's all about controlling the oversteer with the throttle essentially. So again, the last marker, we brake to third gear, trail brake a little bit into the corner. Now I'm going to make it full throttle. Notice I get a tiny bit of oversteer there, and then I stop it straight to fourth gear, and then I'm through to the finish line. Stay to the right if you're on for your fastest lap, because you'll just get a tiny bit more time. Otherwise, go to the left and start your next lap. So that was a slow-mo lap of this round, and we're going to go into a really quick lap now. That time 121.938, so it's not a bad lap. And here we go. So we're going to come up to Paddock Hill Bend. We're going to trail brake in, not make a brake corner, we just want to make it through, zero it out, use all the track if you need to. So brake just at the sign there, and I want to be really aggressive in. I'm trail braking all the way in, try and keep the rotation, second gear, then third gear to try and maintain stability. Let's come up to Graham Hill Bend, use the marker on the left hand side. We're going to get oversteer, try and use the throttle again to balance that out, zero it out, and then as we come up to Surtees, we're going to just brake just after the sign, go down to third gear, second gear if you need to. I'd try and stay in third, accelerate out, be careful of any understeer, and you can use this curve on the right side as your sort of speed trap guide. So Hawthorns, remember we have the barrier on the right where it's got the red tip, brake there, turn in on the marker, and then accelerate through. You may get oversteer there, don't panic too much, just accelerate out. This is the hardest bit, so you want to brake and turn in on the marker. Third gear if you need to, you're going to get oversteer there, so you just have to control it as best as you can. Again, as we come up to this, brake marker, turn in, it's the same point, accelerate out, be careful of the grass on the exit, and then we'll come into Stirlings. As we accelerate out here, it's really aggressive corner that, so you've got to be careful. Try and turn in a bit later than I did, and as we come up to Clearways, use the last marker on the left hand side, brake, turn in, accelerate really early on, try not to counter oversteer, and accelerate towards the start finish line. That was the fast lap and guide to GT Academy round 2.